Please introduce yourself, state your name and DOC number for the record.
How you doing? My name is Jirrico M DOC. 365054 is my DOC number.
All right. Jirrico, this is, I'm Brennan Kelsey. The only reason Mr. Knotts and Ms. Jackson will be your parole panel. We'll ask you some questions. You can respond. At the end, you can make a statement. We'll take a vote. You understand the process?
Yes, sir.
And we do have some people here that will be, some people that are here in support and opposition, and they'll speak at the appropriate time. Rashandra Preston, Tamisa Preston, Lynn Campbell will speak, Michael Knopfler will speak, Michelle Smith will speak, Latoya Green, Alyssa Scott, Melvina Roundtree, and Avis Scott. And then we have Ms. Baton will speak at the appropriate time.
Yes, sir.
Jirrico M DOC number 365054, second class offender, parole eligibility date 5/4/2023, good time date 10/2/2052, full term date 4/6/2054, 53-year sentence, 6 months. Armed robbery, habitual offender, attempted simple burglary, a simple robbery, illegal possession of stolen things. Does that sound correct?
Yes, sir.
It would answer Mr. Renat's questions, please.
Good morning, Mr. McKee.
Good morning.
Mr. McKee, how old are you, sir?
I'm 44,
How long have you been in jail?
21 years this March.
21 years of a 53.5-year sentence.
Yes, ma'am.
That's- And you have your crimes occurred in 2 different jurisdictions. Is that
Yes,
correct?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So let's talk about the crime. Tell us about what you did. I understand that all this happened in the course of one day. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So what happened? What'd you do?
Well, I fell on hard financial times and I decided to rob a bank. And I needed a car to rob the bank. And so initially wasn't the plan, wasn't supposed to be an armed robbery of a vehicle. I spoke with someone who's supposed to be an accomplice, and I instructed him to steal a car. When I went to his house to meet him, he didn't have the car stolen, so I was determined to get the bank robbed. So I set about getting the car, procuring the car on my own. My girlfriend was supposed to drop me off at his house. I stopped her from leaving out of the parking lot. I got back in the car with her. My friend lived on South Walker, which is right around the corner from North Littlejohn, which is the place where the crime took place. I instructed my girlfriend to make a few blocks, and we made it to Miss Mayton's street. At the time when we made it to her street, I saw a vehicle about to turn on North Littlejohn. So I got out of the car and I told my girlfriend to make a few blocks, and I ran across the street and I hid on the side of a car. As I did that, Miss Mayton's car was turning into her driveway. As she turned into the driveway, I ran up on her as she was getting out of the car. I had a gun pointing in her direction, and I told her, "I'm sorry, ma'am, I have to do this to you, but I need the keys to your car." And she dropped the keys initially out of fright. She dropped the keys, and I told her to pick the keys up. So I instructed her to put the ignition key in her hand and give me the keys, which she did. She asked me, could she get her purse from the car? I told her to get the purse out of her car. She got her purse and took off running, and I jumped in the car and I left and went to my girlfriend's house.
Okay, then you ended up in East Feliciana Parish.
Ma'am?
Then you ended up in East Feliciana Parish.
Yes, ma'am. That night, this all occurred at nighttime, probably around 11:30, 12 o'clock. I can't recall the exact time. But after that crime, I went to my girlfriend's house and we spent the night there until early in the morning. And the plan was to rob the bank that morning. I had another accomplice, and he and I spent the night at my girlfriend's house. That morning, we drove to the bank, which was in East Feliciana Parish, and we parked the getaway car, drove to the bank in another car, and my accomplice, he went inside of the bank. The plan was for him to go inside the bank and cause a ruckus, and I would follow behind and I would rob the bank. but he went into the bank and got into an altercation with the security guard. I was hiding inside of the car. When I didn't get the signal that I was supposed to get, I got out of the car. I went to the door and I saw chaos going on. So I just went back and got in the car. I was about to leave, but my accomplice ran out of the bank, got in the car, and then we left out. We eventually wrecked the vehicle, and then we got apprehended by, the police later.
What do you think the victim of the carjacking, what do you think the impact was on that lady?
Sure, devastation, anger, outrage. I'm pretty certain that she's probably still dealing with the repercussions of that. I recall when I was a young kid, my mom got robbed. She used to work at a convenience store, and I remember how that impacted me as a kid. From that point, when my mom got robbed, I was always terrified for her to leave the house.
So what made you decide, taking all that into consideration, I mean, it's confusing and concerning, really. Why you chose to rob a bank? You planned it. You set out to rob a bank.
Yes, ma'am. I
Even
did.
What impact that had on your mother?
I know it's terrible, but the only thing I could say, ma'am, is that I had been completely seduced by crime. I was completely seduced by the false promises of crime at the time. I was a young man, and I made some very terrible decisions. I believe.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about your criminal history. Although we said earlier, I believe we said you were a second felony offender. When you look at the record, I mean, technically, maybe you're a second offender, but I think the record shows that you're possibly a fourth offender. You have a juvenile record. Let's talk about that.
I was 13 years old.
What was that crime?
That was second-degree murder.
Who was
I
that?
was adjudicated of
What
second.
happened? Just a couple of sentences. I don't need all the details. Just tell us what happened.
Well, there was a childish altercation that escalated, and when it escalated, unfortunately at that time I had access to a gun, and I went home and I retrieved the gun. I knew where my stepfather's gun was at. I went home and retrieved a gun, and at that time, the person dying, I was 13-year-old kid, the person dying was not even a thought in my mind.
So how old was that victim? How old?
Ma'am,
How old was
he was 15 years old. And when I came back, in my mind at the time, this was what was going to happen. I was going to come back, defend myself, and I was going to shoot him or whatever. And then afterwards, we'd go back to play basketball. Obviously, that didn't happen. When I went back home and I told my mother what happened, the very first time that even the possibility that he would die came into my mind is when we were walking back to the scene of crime. My mom said, "I hope that boy doesn't die." And that was the very first time that even became a possibility for me.
Okay, so let's talk. So you went to court. You were sent to the Juvenile Correctional Center for Youth.
Yes, ma'am, LTI.
Yeah, and then you were supposed to be there until your sentence was to your 21st birthday, but you were released to your parents after a period of time, and then you were returned. And it looks to me like there was another arrest when you were 17 for negligent homicide. What was that?
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Well, one day I cut school with a group of friends. Me and 4 friends cut school to go to an apartment that I used to live in. We cut school. We were smoking marijuana, listening to music, and I went to use the restroom. At that time, I was completely involved in crime. I want to say this. Can I backtrack? I'll backtrack just a little bit. When I went to LTI, that was my introduction into criminality. I know it sounds like I'm putting the horse before the cart there, but that was my introduction into criminality. Before LTI, I was a normal kid. I just had been involved in a very unfortunate event. When I went to LTI, I internalized a lot of criminal values, and I actually aspired to be a criminal. So when I came out of LTI, I was living a criminal lifestyle, and this was a part of that criminal lifestyle. I was at home smoking weed. I used to carry guns because I was selling drugs at the time. And my friends and I had developed this practice of playing with guns and pointing them at each other when we got high. It's all funny kicks and laughs. So I had my gun. My friend had his gun. I went to the restroom. And when I came out, he had his gun pointing at me. He was laughing. So I picked up my gun. Everybody's in there laughing. We were all high, having fun. And I made a jerking motion at him and a gun went off. At the time, I didn't know it was my gun. I dropped to the floor. I covered my head and I looked at the back wall. I was looking for a bullet hole because I didn't feel any recoil from the gun that I had in my hand. I didn't see any hole in the back wall behind me. So when I turned around, I saw my friend laying with a gunshot wound on the side of his head. I immediately grabbed the phone. I called 911 and I told them, the dispatcher, that some kids were playing with a gun at 8723 GSRI. Could they send help?
So it was originally
And
an aggravated battery, but then he later died. So that's how it became negligent homicide.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you've been in jail, and then we have the bank, the armed robbery.
Yes, ma'am.
So you jailed 21 years then. And I've read your record. Your record is pretty extensive. You do still have a lot of opposition to any consideration for early release at this time for you.
Yes, ma'am.
We'll hear about that some of that later. Tell us what has happened briefly. What was your breakthrough in prison? I've read about your success with college and your 4.0 score. I've read about the STRIVE program, your associate's degree in theology, and so on and so forth. What was your breakthrough?
Well, if you're asking if it was an event, it wasn't. It was for me, my transition occurred because I do a lot of reading. I'm thankful to have a mother who hammered in me since I was a young kid to educate yourself. And I came to prison with a love of reading. And that was my transition into becoming a better person. I read a lot of ideas. I read a lot of positive books, a lot of different ideas that you come in contact with reading books, and they can't help but have an impact on the way you view life and the way you view the world. As I told you, when I went to LTI, I internalized a lot of negative values. Reading a lot of different books helped me overcome, not just overcome, but conquer those values. You know, they helped me internalize, exchange those for positive values. I was talking to a gentleman here, Mr. Stelly, and he asked me a similar question. What was my breakthrough? And I had to tell him the same thing, that it wasn't just a moment. It wasn't just an event. It was, just a gradual progression, from years of reading.
You got to move on. So it's through your reading that you determined that you needed to change your life. When I look at your record, it seems that happened to you. The change in your record, at least, is reflected starting about 2013. Would you agree?
Roughly, you could say that. Yes, ma'am.
About 10 years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
11 years ago. I noticed your last write-up was in December of 13, but I believe you just got a reprimand. I don't see the report, but the penalty was minor. Tell us about what STRIVE is.
STRIVE? Well, it's the Warden's program here. It's a program where a lot of offenders, it rewards rehabilitation. Offenders participate in rehabilitative programs. A very effective program that Warden Myers has implemented at the institution. I was very proud when he chose me to speak to Inside Out on behalf of the program because I see what it's doing. It stands for success through rehabilitation, integrity, virtue, and education. I think that Warden Myers chose me to represent the program because he sees all those values in me.
So what have you done to address, you mentioned drugging and all that. What have you done since you've been incarcerated to address substance abuse issues?
Well, I believe that, and I think this is probably refuted, but that once you're an addict, you're always an addict. So I am a reentry instructor here, and a part of teaching reentry, we teach substance abuse. I've joined the living in balance program to take a program to address my addictions, my prior addictions. And I also help teach others how to overcome their addictions through my job as a reentry instructor. But I want to say this too, real quick. I want to say that prior to participating in any programming, I recognized that I had a problem. I recognized that I need to change. You know, absolutely hate drugs. Drugs took my dad for 20 years. Drugs were the cause of the disintegration of my family. I hate what drugs do to individuals, families, and communities. You know, so as I said, I know that once an addict, always be an addict, but I know also that I have to remain vigilant about drugs for the rest of my life.
What other community service do you do?
What other community service? Well, I started a club here. It seems like maybe if you don't know the context about it, may seem like an easy thing, but starting a club here is very difficult. It took us 2 years to start as a club here, is a public speaking and mentorship club called Made Men. And I started that, and I'm very proud of that because a lot of the good that comes about because of this club. I also mentor as a part of my job and reentry. I mentor many other offenders here, young offenders mostly. And, you know, I just share my life with other people. I share my life and my transformation, you know. That's
I don't have any other questions for Meyer. Is there anything you can add to all the things that he said?
I'm sorry for being so wordy.
Well, Ms. Renata, I mean, it's he has a very good conduct history. Taking numerous classes, he does tutor here. He helps others. Obviously, I didn't know a lot of the things that you brought up. I don't have the access to that, and that's disappointing to me to hear some of those things. And I'm sorry for those crimes and the victims in those crimes. But I'm not here to speak on that. I'm just here to speak on what he's done while he's been with me, and what he's done while he's been with me has been very productive. Very productive. He does good here. He's an editor in my offender newsletter. He does a lot of positive things. He's very respected and well-mannered here. I think he's made a change in his life. I think he's a different person. I really do, considering all the things past.
Thank you. I didn't ask you, Mr. McKee, what would be your transition plan?
My transition plan? Well, I have 2 jobs waiting for me, one for Reliable PLC and one for Lone Wolf Carriers. That would be my immediate employment, but I intend to find employment closer to my major, which is communication for Ashland University. That's actually what I want to do. I would like to continue to do exactly what I'm doing here, which is
Where would you live?
I live with my mother in Marrero, Louisiana.
When did you first learn to be parole eligible?
When did I first become parole eligible?
You first learned you were parole eligible.
When Act 122 passed, I think in 2021.
Have no other questions?
Mr. Renata, I'm sorry, one more thing. He is currently enrolled in phase 1 of living in balance. So I do want to add that. I want to complete both phases of that.
All right, now we'll hear from Ms. Lynn Campbell.
Hi, can we have Mr. Mike to speak first?
Yeah, Michael Knocklin can speak, sure. Can't hear you, you're on mute.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Can?
Okay, thank you very much. I met Jirrico in 2014 at RLCC. I don't recall when our son Daniel met him, but they're friends and they served together in Made Men Gavel Club. What Jirrico didn't tell you is what the acronym Made Men stands for, and I think that's very important. It's an acronym that means making a difference every day, making education necessary. And while it is similar to the Toastmasters Club, it goes a lot further than what they do. So Jirrico was president of the club at that time. Through his work in the club, Jirrico has had a very positive impact as a mentor and role model for fellow club members especially for my son Daniel. Jirrico has what appears to be a very natural speaking and writing talent. So for those who wanted to learn and apply themselves, Jirrico was able to mentor and coach the members in the club to help them develop their writing skills. He helped them to develop ideas for speeches, improve sentence structure, use correct punctuation, improve their spelling. In short, he helped them master all the components needed to improve their sentences and turn them into coherent paragraphs. And those paragraphs turned into stories. Once the members developed those skills, he was able to help them learn to deliver their speeches and even to help them learn to speak extemporaneously, which is a pretty hard concept, I believe. All of Jirrico's positive attitudes helped him to mentor. Helped those he mentored to develop confidence in themselves. To be successful, confidence is necessary to help us set and achieve goals in life. Those in the club who succeeded in learning these skills of writing and speaking and putting those skills to practice now have a golden opportunity to reach out to others and help them accomplish the same goals. As I mentioned earlier, our son Daniel was one of those who Jirrico mentored. Daniel transformed from someone with low self-esteem and low self-confidence in writing and speaking, and is now able to win competitions for his speeches. Daniel was inspired by Jirrico and now wants to go to college. For all those changes in our son, I will be forever grateful to Jirrico mentoring Daniel. In summary, Jirrico McKee has been able to help transform lives through his selfless, tireless, and dedication to helping others. And hopefully, I pray that he will be granted parole so that he will have the same opportunity to continue his work outside of RLCC, because transforming lives is how we can have the greatest impact on our world. Thank you for this opportunity for speaking on Jirrico's behalf.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, Ms. Lynn, we'll hear from Ms. Lynn now. Yeah.
Okay, can Mashelle Smith speak? I want to speak last. If
Well,
it's
okay,
okay.
you want, I went wrong order. Michelle, that's right. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mashelle Smith. A little background information on me. I am a registered social worker here in Louisiana. I'm also a former deputy at St. Charles Parish Sheriff's Office. I currently work as a therapist at River Place Behavioral Health Hospital. I have about 15 years of mental health experience. I am the first cousin to Jirrico, and I'm here to speak in support of him. Throughout the years, Jirrico and I have remained in contact with each other, whether it's me seeing him multiple times through visitation, speaking to him over the phone, and also keeping in touch with him through email with JPay. I followed his journey while he's been incarcerated. And what he has done since being incarcerated has been very inspiring. He was enthusiastic about getting his GED and also furthering himself by taking the opportunity to get into Ashland University and just going as far as being a valedictorian. His determination and motivation he had that kept him going and wanting himself to do good, wanting others to see the good in him has been inspiring. I've been able to see him flourish into a great person. He's been a spiritual advisor while becoming a mentor to many people, including myself. I believe that is what made him want to have such a great program like Made Man. He wanted to encourage and help others to make a difference in their lives and also to further their education. Throughout conversations that he and I have had, it was exciting to see the person he had become, him taking accountability for the things that he has done and spoke positively into the things he wished to accomplish. He would motivate me at times when I felt that things were hard or getting tough and inspire me to keep pushing. There have been many therapeutic sessions that we've had with each other where he was able to identify his struggles, his interests, his strengths, and his goals. Even I know that he stated that he wanted to pursue something within communication, but he's so good at public speaking and even talking about as far as nonprofit organizations where he's able to mentor, motivate, and inspire and guide adolescents to transition into young men and women with purpose to obtain a higher education. It was great seeing the progress that he has made within himself and the impact he has had on others. Jirrico has a great support system. He has a great family unit that consists of his mother, his brother, his stepfather, and he has many family and friends who love him and going to encourage him, keep motivating him while he encourages us as well. He is not able to change the past, but he is able to make a significant difference in the future. And not just for his future, but the future of many young men and women. He'll be coming home to a brighter and promising future, surrounded by many people who has encouraged and who has prayed for him, and he has prayed for them as well. And he is coming home to a family of a lot of love people that loves him, and he loves them in return. And that's,
All right. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
thank you.
All right. Now we got it covered. Miss Lynn, let us wrap it up.
Hi, I'm Jirrico McKee's mother. I just want to give you a little background drop. Over the years of Jirrico being incarcerated, I am the really one who has seen the sadness, the sorrow, and the remorse. I watched him over the years. I know what my son went through mentally and physically. We cannot change the past, but I do want to let y'all know that Jirrico has changed. He has done so many things in his tenure in prison to make himself better. He's always had the niche of being able to reach others when others could not be reached. He has that ability. He went to college, he graduated college. You guys know that history already. But the one thing that I do want to bring out was the moment I knew my son had changed was when he told me, Mom, I can't be a part of something that does not stand for integrity. At that time, I broke down. When my son told me that, I knew then in that moment, he was changed. In that very moment, he was changed. So I prayed and I asked the Lord to help him forgive himself, and that, he can help go out and reach others. His passion is to try to reach the young generation that is so self-destructing. And he wants to do more to give back to the community and try to help. For his, I know that he's deeply, deeply remorseful for all of the things choices that he made that wasn't in good standings. So I'm asking the board today to please have mercy and consider allow my son to come home. He's missed out on a lot. His baby brother went to college and graduated from a 4-year university because of my son, of his oldest brother. He graduated in criminal justice because he wanted to do something to help give back. So I know that, everything happens for the good. So I know that he's going to be a very productive. I have set up how he's going to be living with me. He's coming home to a loving family. He has a stepdad that's ready to help embrace him and to help him get along the way. He has job lined up. I have set up a banking account for him to help him get started when he get out.
Yes.
So everything is set up for him.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your comment. Now we're here for Miss Lisa Mayton.
Yes, sir.
I can hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead and make your statement, Miss Lisa.
Okay. I just want to say that I'm still scared for my life. Even though it's been 20-some years, whatever. Everywhere I go, I have to have somebody with me because I'm scared. I'm scared. I just don't know who I'm scared.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your comment.
Okay.
All right, Jirrico, would you like to make a statement on your behalf?
Yes, sir, I would. I'd just like to say this, and I'll be brief. I know that Miss Maiden is here, and this has been quite a long time in coming. I've played over this over and over in my mind before for many years, and I understand that she is very fearful. I understand the devastation that I've caused her life, and I want to apologize for all of the trauma and devastation that I have caused to Miss Maiden. I know that my apology is an inadequate compensation for everything that you have been through for your life.
Speak to the
And
floor.
oh yes, I know that that everything that I've put her through, my apology is completely inadequate compensation for that. And I would just hope that one day that I will be given the opportunity to make amends for that. That's all, sir.
All right, thank you. Now prepare to vote. Ms. Renata.
All right, Mr. McKee, I enjoyed listening to you today. I appreciate that you were truthful in acknowledging your crimes. Even as we've had, you have an institutional record, you have positive remarks by the warden, obvious community support, family support, you have a low risk score. My vote would be to grant your parole after you complete living in balance 1 and 2, with special conditions after release that you have a curfew and not saying you perform 4 hours of community service each month working with at-risk youth, and that you have absolutely no contact with the victim or the victim's family.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Jackson.
Hi, Ms. McKee, this is a very difficult one for me. I'm going to be honest with you. I listened to everything that Renata had to say, and I do concur with those things. But I struggle with the crimes themselves and the fact that you serve less than half of your sentence. You've been responsible for 2 deaths in your life as a juvenile, basically. And I do recognize the capacity that people have to change, and I do in that process. But for me, today is not the day. I think your day will come, but for me, today is not the day. I know that you're going to continue to do things that you've been doing, because that is evidence of genuine change in how you respond to setbacks. But for me, because of victim opposition, law enforcement opposition, and insufficient counsel, our vote is to deny.
Yes,
Right.
ma'am. Thank you.
1 vote to deny and 1 vote to grant. Again, it is difficult. It's a difficult case, difficult situation. For me, work that you've done, time you put in, the things that you're doing, my vote today would be to grant your parole after you complete a living in balance 1 and 2. You have a curfew from 9 p to 6 a. I want you to do 6 hours a month of community service, Ms. Renata, is okay with that? 6 hours a month of community service, no contact with the victim, and I want you to go to NAA 1 time a week. So you have 2 votes to
Yes, sir.
grant, 1 vote to deny. I think you qualified, your parole's been granted with the stipulations of state. Good luck to you.
Thank you all.
Wow. Just wowed from the entire case from beginning to end. I didn't know what to expect, but a second handshake. Another. I mean, I think that was the smartest man we've seen on this, on all the parole hearings. He might have been the smartest man in the room. It's remarkable. It's just absolutely remarkable that he killed 2 people. I didn't catch the age of how old he was in the second killing, but was he 15? Was he 16? He killed someone when he was 13 years old. And then he killed someone again just a few years later. When that was brought up, I said, no way. I couldn't believe it. You know, at first they're talking about the crime, and it's like, and the way he's speaking about it, I mean, who steals a car and lets the woman take her purse out? He even said, I think, I'm sorry, ma'am, but I have to take your car. And I believe that that's exactly what he said. Then he takes the car to his girlfriend's house and they go rob the bank. It goes terribly wrong. They crash. He gets this big sentence. What's bizarre about all of this, what I just can't wrap my mind around, is I think what Miss Jackson couldn't get her mind around is that how do you take 2 lives and still make the decision to carry a gun? Steal a car from a woman with the gun pointed at her? You know, the bank robbery doesn't bother me so much. And it was, you know, he was caught dead in his tracks. He starts with this like sob story about how his mother was affected, and Miss Jackson cut him off. She wasn't having any, you know, it was like, well, so why were you doing this? And then his answer was, man, he really had an answer for everything. Good ones too. What was it? I think he said he was caught up in the life of crime. No, he was completely seduced by crime. That was the answer. And what's interesting is that, you know, he wasn't. How did he get a gun at 13? I'm confused by that now. Did he say he took it from one of his relatives' house? Maybe. But then once he got put into LTI, which I guess is for juveniles, that's when he wanted to become a criminal. That's very believable. You put, I mean, if you're gonna be in there at that young age, you're gonna be influenced by everyone else who's there, and everyone else who's there is. So yeah, it's a pretty dumb system, isn't it? You know, LTI, the juvenile detention center. You're just creating worse kids. What he has a 4.0 grade average, a college degree in sociology. Then they said, well, when did you know that you were going to get out? Well, Act 122 passed in 2021. That's when I knew I had a chance. And I'll include the link to Act 122 in the description. It's the act that basically gave people with these long sentences a chance at early parole. And I think it's a good act in general, because there are many, many, many unfair sentences. Now, I wonder if you can judge someone by what they've done when they're 13 years old. And I'll just use 15 years old because I just can't remember how old he was. But when now he is his good time, his full term date, he'd be out in 2054. He's 43 years old, and he's 23 years into his sentence. You know, can you be? This one is just too tough for me. It really is. If he didn't have the ability to speak the way that he did, if he wasn't as intelligent, if he didn't seem to really have almost the perfect answer for every question, if he wasn't doing all of these things and really making it, you know, that he is accomplished, and then making it feel like he could have, you know, like, why waste this life? Like, why not? He can go out there and make something for himself. He could be a politician for change. He'd probably be a great preacher. But he still, after killing 2 people, picked up a gun and robbed someone at gunpoint, stole her car. He was how old when he did that? He's 43 now. He served 23 years, so he was 20 years old. But does that mean that he just... You would just think that after you kill 2 people, your friends... I can't get over that part. The victim who spoke was the one that he robbed, and you can tell, you know, she's up against everyone in the room being for him. She's up against one of the most better well-spoken people just in general, and she's saying she can't even go out. It's 20-something years later. She can't even speak because that's how traumatized she was by having a gun pointed at her. I am really glad I'm not on this board because I don't know what I would have done. Yeah, I'm really leaning towards him getting out just because of how impressive he is, and living in balance. It's kind of fun. It's like you need to take living in balance. Then he has the curfew. He has to do the community service 6 hours, and he has to go to the AA. Was it once a week? I just can't get over he killed 2. Can you imagine? The little boy, he explained it like well, right? Like he didn't realize that it can kill him. He, you know, he was in a fight. He went and got the gun. He wanted to, like, you know, shoot him, and then he'll go and play basketball later. And I mean, at that age, you don't understand things. You really don't. Then the second one, I mean, those things happen all the time where kids get their hands on weapons but you would just think that he wouldn't want to have ever touched a weapon again. I do wonder how he lives with himself. I didn't get a sense of, like, I didn't get a sense of remorse really from everyone, from anyone really. You know, 2 lives were taken. You would just think that you would be a shell of a person for doing that, and I don't know. Maybe he's got real strong narcissistic tendencies, and he doesn't feel that bad. He's just not affected by it. I'm not, you know, I don't know like how that works. But he's got to be the luckiest man in the world to be able to commit all of those crimes and still have another chance at life. And I got to tell you, if you mess it up, sir, there's no one that's going to feel bad for you. So, and you owe a lot of people, and I hope that you make the best of your life and you can make some change in the system and for kids and do something with your skill. And because you've been given so many chances, so I just hope that he does something with it, that there's some better purpose for it. But yeah, please do share your thoughts on this one because I need help digesting this. With that, I will let you go.